Ford F-150 Raptor is undoubtedly the king of full-size, high-speed desert running. However, Jeep just introduced the Gladiator Mojave, the desert-rated version of its midsize pickup. Do these trucks technically compete with each other? Well, not directly, but they are two of my favorites, and I was really curious to see how they stacked up with each other in terms of power, suspension, drive mode, size, geometry, and utility. And I bet you are too. So, here we go. One bloodthirsty dinosaur versus a Roman cage fighter with a sword. There can be only one. So the first thing we need to talk about here is the power plant. After all, you ain't gonna go fast without horsepower. With this last generation, Ford swapped out the V8 for a twin-turbo V6, and a lot of people got their butts in a bunch over the loss of the V8, but the V6 actually puts out more power than that old V8, so really, who cares? The 3.5-liter EcoBoost V6 puts out 450 horsepower and 510 pound-feet of torque, and that is mated to a 10-speed automatic transmission. Meanwhile, the Gladiator is powered by a 3.6-liter naturally aspirated V6 engine with 285 horses and 260 pound-feet of torque. A 6-speed manual transmission is standard, hallelujah, or you can opt for an 8-speed automatic. So it sounds like the Raptor is really walking away with it here, but remember that Super Crew Raptor is 5,697 pounds, while the Mojave with an automatic weighs 4,974 pounds. A few pounds less for the manual. Now, that doesn't exactly make their power-to-weight ratios equal, but the Mojave is not quite as far behind as it would seem. The next thing you need to go fast is suspension. The Raptor sports an independent front suspension with internal bypass Fox shocks that are computer dependent. That's to say, the live valving can adjust the shocks in real time depending on what the Raptor is going through. I've taken some foot-deep whoops in the Raptor at 45, 50 miles per hour, and let me tell you, those things work. You just really have to commit to it, because if you get scared and you lift your foot off the throttle, it's going to be a party that you definitely do not want to go to. Meanwhile, the Gladiator Mojave relies on more tried-and-true technology. The solid front axle means it's not quite as nimble as the Raptor, but it soaks up the whoops with internal bypass Fox shocks with hydraulic jounce bumpers. Now you can think of these bumpers as a secondary shock that takes the hit when the whoops get deep, while still allowing the main shock to be a bit more compliant and comfortable in less aggressive driving. During my time with the Mojave, I was able to keep a steady 40 miles per hour or so through some foot-deep whoops with absolutely no problems. Alright, what about drive modes? In addition to modes for rock, sand, mud, snow, and sport, the Raptor gets dirty with the Baja mode. Now that immediately puts the truck into 4-wheel drive high, keeps the turbo spooled, and locks out the top 5 gears to keep those revs high. You can even override the transfer case and keep the Raptor in 2-wheel drive with Baja mode for the ultimate in roost-throwing shenanigans. The Gladiator actually relies on the driver for inputs and only features one mode, Off-Road Plus. In 4-wheel drive high, it keeps the throttle responsive, the revs high, and keeps much of the electronic stability control nannies out of the way. In 4-wheel drive low, those parameters are shifted to enhance low-speed rock crawling. Though you can't override Off-Road Plus to work in 2-wheel drive, you can eliminate the electronic stability control altogether by pressing and holding the button for 5 seconds. Okay, let's talk about size. The Raptor might be a full-size truck, but actually it's not that much bigger than the mid-size Gladiator. The wheelbase of both is right around 12 feet, and at 19 feet long overall, the Raptor is only a foot longer than the Gladiator. However, that Raptor, 7 feet wide compared to the 6-foot width of the Gladiator. Now there can be some narrow tracks out there in the desert, so expect some scratches on your Raptor when you get out there. Alright, so looking at all those numbers, I mean, the Gladiator Mojave is certainly the fastest solid axle truck you can get for high-speed desert adventure, but the Raptor with its more powerful engine and independent front suspension is going to get you there quicker. However, if you know you're going to be out there in the rocks and the dirt, well, the Mojave is probably going to be your jam. I mean, let's just look at the numbers. The Raptor approach angle, 30.2 degrees. Gladiator Mojave, 44.7 degrees. Raptor departure angle, 23 degrees. Mojave, 25.5. The Raptor only wins in the breakover angle, 21.8 degrees, versus the Mojave at 20.9 degrees. And both are pretty much equal in ground clearance at 11.5 inches for the Raptor and 11.6 inches for the Mojave. One thing that really surprised me here is water fording capabilities. The Raptor can go through 32 inches of water, the Mojave only 30. Now, the Raptor earns itself a crawl ratio of 50-1, but the Mojave goes big with 57.3-1 with the manual transmission or 52.6-1 with the automatic. Both trucks, however, only get a rear locker. That's right, no front locker on that Mojave. As for the tires, the two are actually fairly equally matched, with the Raptor coming in with 34-inch BF Goodrich KO2 tires on 17-inch wheels, while the Mojave runs 33-inch Falken Wild Peak tires also on 17-inch wheels. If you're looking at utility, well, the Raptor's got a 5.5-foot bed, but the Mojave makes do with just 5 feet of bed space. Both can carry 1,200 pounds of payload, but the Raptor kills it with towing at a maximum of 8,000 pounds. The Mojave can only tow 6,000 pounds, dropping down to 4,500 pounds with the manual transmission. All right, what about range? The Raptor's got a 36-gallon fuel tank and gets an EPA rating of 16 miles per gallon combined, giving it a range of 576 miles, which is not too shabby, right? In theory, the Raptor could race the Baja 500 and not have to stop for fuel. Meanwhile, the Gladiator Mojave has a tiny 22-gallon tank and nets 19 miles per gallon combined according to the EPA. Total range, 418 miles. So enough to race the Baja 250 on one tank of gas. However, there is, of course, price to think about. A Super Crew Raptor starts at about $58,000, including $1,695 for delivery. Apparently Raptors are coming from Mars or something. Now that Super Crew features 4 doors like the Mojave, but you can get a Super Cab for about $5,000 less. Meanwhile, the Gladiator Mojave starts at around $45,000, including $1,495 for delivery. When everything's said and done, I think I'm still going for the Mojave. I mean, it's not as fast, sure, but my adventures often take me on rocks, and I really want that added capability and off-road geometry. The extra towing of the Raptor is tempting, but I'm mostly towing 3,000 to 5,000 pounds, so I should be okay. Plus, it's a convertible, and there's nothing like the sun on your face and the wind in your hair when you're out enjoying what nature has to offer. Want more of these comparo videos? We have one with the new Land Rover Defender versus Jeep Wrangler, and coming soon is the Toyota Supra versus the Chevy Corvette C8. And hey, let me know in the comments what you want to see stacked up against each other. And as always, be sure to like and subscribe right here to Roadshow for all kinds of super cool automotive content.